Hi guys, FM Campbell here again. Today I've had another big demand in this video in the staff that people or I tend to look for. I'm not going to show you the exact staff that I go for, but I'm going to show you how I find them, and you'll gather sort of a variation of names that I do tend to consider. I'm going to get straight into it. Basically, I'm going to go through the different roles, how I find them, and sort of my preferences and who I tend to look at most. I do tend to I can pinpoint the ones that I commonly go for, let's just say that. So first of all, you've got yourself as manager, so you want to put yourself in there. I mean, this is FM Campbell here, as you can see, his information and blah 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 profile. So you get your own attributes in here. They're not numbered attributes, they're basically the consistency of how well you do at each thing. So you've got your reputation, depending on how you start the game. So this is, for the sake of this video, he's an international footballer. Media handling is how well you get on with the press. Your tactical consistency is how often you change your tactics. Hands-on approach is how much you interact with players individually and as a squad if you want to do team meetings. Managing your finances, so how well you do with money, if you adjust your budget, how sort of your left and your right towards your wages and your transfer, how well you sort of manage that. Team discipline, so fines, warnings for players if they miss training, and you get the idea basically. Loyalty to players, so extending contracts. When players speak to you and they ask, they're a little bit worried about not being played in the first team enough. How do you put them in the team, or do you sort of buy players and then sell them a season on? These all sort of change. Your domestic player bias as well is basically if you play in England and you have a lot of English players, this tends to go up. It's as simple as that. If you bring your English players through from the U Franks or Regens, this also tends to go up for that as well. So into staff that you need to find. One thing to let you know, in the first season on the majority of my saves, I have a complete revamp of the staff that I tend to have at the club. For instance, I've done a Man United save, which you can go and check out if you want to, where I would say 98% of the staff that were there originally aren't there anymore. It's as simple as that. But yeah, assistant manager we'll look at first. So we'll untick the unrealistic. So key things for an assistant manager to have is tactical knowledge, which is obvious. We'll cancel that. Tactical knowledge. Motivating if you use him for team talks. It's also one that's pretty good. If a manager's good at tactical knowledge, I tend to try and find one that's good with tactical coaching as well. So that's always a key one. So these are just averaging out as 15s at the moment. So you can kind of see at the minute we have 5 left that will be good to choose from. And sometimes you can add things in like man management, and then we go down to 4. So I mean, I've been recommended this guy and I've looked at this guy so many times in Morris Tossotti. He can train anyone anywhere pretty much. He's good at defensive training. His man management's through the roof. His mental's very good as well. And he can also work with younger players. He's probably going to be a defensive coach when you use him in your coaching and in your training. Determination is very high. His discipline's stupidly high. And look at that tactical knowledge of 20, which is crazy, and then the motivation of 16. Only problem with Tossotti is he's going to be expensive. He's on 13 grand a week, so he's going to be costing you in the region of 15 grand a week plus, and you have to pay his compensation. And I mean, he's got 4 years left in his contract, so you can imagine how much it's going to cost you. So I tend to avoid him, but it's up to you guys. Francis Marecki, another good one as you can see across the board. Fulvio Fiorin, he's the under-19s assistant manager. Considering he's working with youngsters 15, he's probably in the wrong job anyway. So, but he could be a good assistant manager as well. He'd be a tactical coach as well at 18. Gianluca Azzori, sorry. Again, across the board, he's not too bad, but you get the idea of how I find these, and I'll manage these quite closely. So I'd probably, I mean, his tactical coaching I mean, I tend to like it, but his motivation could maybe drop to 14. Tactical knowledge is quite key, so we'll bring it up to 17s. Man management maybe down to 14s. So Henny Splidge come in. I think I've pronounced that right. But again, across the board, he's a tactical coach. Tactical knowledge is good. But if you've already got coaches that are already training tactics, find another one. You could probably take that off. I mean, this will all increase then. So we've got Gustavo Borges. He's not too bad. Alejandro Sabella looks pretty good. But yeah, you get the idea. But also one thing to think about is you have your your assistant manager, but then you also have your under 21s manager and also your under 18s manager. They're basically the same thing in my opinion, but they have to be good at working with youngsters. So Tassotti is probably, I tend to have an under 18s manager who's 18 plus at working with youngsters. They're not going to be at this level. You're not going to find them, because the ones that are at this level will already be assistant managers or managers for clubs already. So they're not going to be to the level of this. So you probably have to drop these down a little bit. Same with the under 21s manager, but it doesn't have to be sort of as high as with working with youngsters, because they tend to have reserve. I mean, the games only recently changed it to under 21s. It used to be reserve players, so they'll also have first team players that need match fitness in the team and things like that. Then we go on to coaches. With coaches, I tend to look at this more than anything. So we have tactics, a tactics coach, a ball control coach, a defending coach, attacking coach, and a shooting coach. So we'll go and we'll search for staff. So now we want a coach. Bearing in mind, you don't necessarily have to tick this. You can find a coach. For example, if I did this, I mean, Eric Steele is a goalkeeper coach, but Jason Wilcox obviously is not going to come United. But look at that. I mean, his motivation is 18. Tactical knowledge is brilliant. Man management is unbelievable. He's good at judging players, so he's going to give you a good report on players. Working with youngsters is 16, obviously. Tactical coaching is 15. But he could be a good assistant manager for someone. And he's only on £1,800 a week for another 2 years. So it's not going to be too expensive. It's going to cost you about £3,000 a week. But obviously United aren't going to get him anytime soon. But you could use him as an assistant manager at a different club, and he will easily leave an under 18s role to become an assistant manager for a club. So that's something to think about as well. But yeah, like I said, so if we're going to look at a tactics coach, if you don't get a tactic based assistant manager, I suppose you can do it like this. Man management and motivation can be unticked, and there you go. So you've now got tactical coaches that are 18 and above, or we'll change this to coaching. So 18 and above, look, and you can look at these now. So John Cook's obviously already at United. He's in the under 18s though. Mentally he's not superb, but you've got Aurelio Andriazzoli, not too bad. David Court, who's awesome. He's a very popular one for me to go and get. Fulvio Florin, who we know about, who's an assistant manager. Erling Moe, mental stats aren't great, but you get the idea. So there's 18 at tactical coaching, and then you simply just change this over to ball. Ball control is more technique, so you want technical coaching or technique coaching. You simply select that there. So Rodolfo Barol, although he's a head of youth development, look at that. He could be anything. You can have an assistant manager. You can have absolutely anything if you can get him to join you. But it's, like I said, it's technical. He's 18. He's probably going to be a different coach. He'll probably be a shooting coach because it's technical and it's attacking. If you want a technical sort of basically a ball control, they're either a defensive one. So let's see if we can find an example. We look at Marco Landucci. He's unbelievable. He can do anything. So let's find one. So Lalinia, he'd probably be a very, very, very good ball control one. Mental's not that great though. But technique's 16, and he's across the board everywhere else. But you get the idea. Then we go and we look at. No, we'll stay on coaches, but we'll look at shooting coaches. Where are we? So again, it'll be technique. So we stay with the technique, and then we want an attacking shooting coach. So Dennis Bergkamp, no surprise that he's going to be a shooting coach. Paul Scholes would be a good shooting coach. Well, he's not great actually, to be honest. René Meulensteen, he is more a ball control, but he can be a shooting coach. He's a very, very good coach. I mean, he's been a manager for Fulham as well, but he's across the board, so you can take him in different places. But again, you get the idea. Then next we look at attacking coaches, and you simply select attacking, but we'll knock this up. I'll basically go to 19 or 20 and then just drop it down. So there's the first lot come through. So Gerd Müller at Bayern is not too bad. Keith Bertschin, he's okay as well. But then if there's none there that you sort of spot. Edgaras Jankusa, no, not really. Drop it down to 17, and then you just see more that pop up. Boro Primorac, he's awesome. Great attacking coach. Or shooting coach if you wanted to use him as a technical shooting coach. But you get the idea. Tony Carr, head of youth development. You can get him playing as a coach. Remember, if you pay them the right money, they will join you. Then you've got defensive coaches. So same again, you simply select defend, knock it up. There's 19. So defensive coaches are 19. So Naki Bagheera, he's not too bad. Dave Parnaby, I know he's very good. He's normally head of youth development, but you can offer him the money. Flavio Tanajura, he's one that I usually get. Look at that, defense coaching of 19. So he's very, very good. Massimo Carrera, he's not too bad. But after that, you then move on to goalkeeping coaches. So you'll do that. You'll keep this ticked and you'll change it to goalkeepers. Knock it up to 20. There's loads of 20 based goalkeeping coaches on this. Who have we got that I tend to look at? So let's go goalkeeping coaching. Eric Steele used to be a United goalkeeping coach. He's very, very good. Gone to Derby. Who else have we got? I look at sometimes. Oscar Rodriguez is one I look at often. Who else do I look at? Yep, Jose Manuel Zotorina. He's okay as well. Alessandro Nista is a common one I like to look at. Look at him, his mentors are unreal. He's okay as well. Gerald Ehrman, not too bad, but you get the idea. And I'll just go through them and sift through them until I find one that I like that's not going to cost me too much money, basically. We then got to fitness coaches. Very, very simple. Change it over to fitness coaching. I'll knock it up to 20, and boom, there's a load of fitness coaches that are all 20 at fitness. So we'll simply do that. Man management is quite a key one. So I've obviously got all just 20, so there are only going to be 20s in this list. But then man management, and if you can as well, physiotherapy is a good one to add to this because they monitor the fitness around physiotherapy and vice versa. So Paul Winsberg is probably one of the best on the game. Determination at 20, motivation at 20, man management at 20, and fitness at 20. It just doesn't get any better than that. Dave Billows is another good one as well. Who else do I sometimes look at? Where is he? Tell you what, we'll untick fitness coach and see if he pops up. Hoping he does. He's a good one as well. He's more of a physio though. Where is he? Is he not on this save? I don't really know. No, it doesn't look like it. Unless he's dropped down to 19. Who knows? Oh. Do you know what? I can't even remember his name. Until I see his name, I won't know. But anyway, I won't keep sitting around trying to find players for you. Staff for you, sorry. If I remember his name, I'll tell you. That's strange. It's very strange. But yeah, anyway, so that's fitness coaches. Then I'll move on to physios. I'll also have a head physio, who will be my predominant man to go to speak about fitness of players. and injuries of players and things like that. So we'll move over and we'll change this over to physiotherapy, knock it up to 20. Obviously it's now a mental attribute, so we'll knock that up. So they're all 20 already. And let's just basically, I sift through them. And Alexandra Sealin's a very, very good one, but he's also a very, very good scout. As you can see, it's 2020, but we'll go into scouts in a minute. So who have we got then? Salvatore Libra is one that I commonly go to get. Man management at 20, physiotherapy at 20, and also motivating as well. Works quite closely with fitness. David Fevra, very, very popular one, especially as a head physio. Man management 18, physiotherapy at 20. Who else have we got? I sometimes look at Andy Renshaw. He's not a bad one as well. He's actually very good, to be honest with you. 20 at physiotherapy, 20 at fitness, 19 man management, 18 with working with youngsters. So obviously you can have under 18s in all these roles that we've been through. Staff for the under 18s. But yeah, you get the idea. Then we move on to scouts. Now scouts are a little bit different. What I'll do is I'll tick 2, and we all know what the common ones that they have to be good at is judge and playing potential and judge and player ability, and you simply knock them both up to 20. This is how I do it. So you've basically got a selection of scouts here. Alexandra Sealin, who I said about earlier, Fabio Paratici, but you're probably able to get him. Gilles Gramandi, he's a very, very good scout. Wolfgang Grobe, he's at Bayern, another 2020. Steve Rowley, who's at Arsenal, and Pantiello Corvino, who's ridiculously good, but he's a director of football, which again I'll cover in a second. So basically you've got 6 staff members there that are 2020. Obviously they go up and down and things like that throughout the game. Judge and player ability is their current abilities, the current level that they're at. Judge and player potential is how they're going to be in the future. So if you find an 18-year-old, his player ability is probably going to be a 1.5 to 2 star, but his potential could be anything from 3 star right up to 5 star if you're lucky. And then you can sort of make a judgment on whether to sign them or not. Obviously, the higher these are of 2020, the more likely that they are to find absolute worldies, basically. But what I do, if obviously you're not going to get all 6 of them, we're going to cost you too much money, I then drop these down. I tend to look for potential players when they do ability, just because the attributes, when I look at them direct, I tend to pick up their ability anyway. So I'll knock that down to 19, and as you can see, a load of more scouts have popped up. So Pliat Divisa, Kasaragi, who else will we have pop up? Francis Kakagao, Cleach, and Conti have all popped up. And I'll just basically keep doing that. So then I'll knock that down to 18. And because we're doing potentials all 20, so these have now popped up. So David Williams, who's obviously already at United. Lico Crivelli is one that I tend to go and get quite a lot. He's very, very cheap. Rosario Argento, again, is another one, but he can be quite expensive sometimes. Fermo Favini, though, look at that. He's just so good. To be honest with you, I would recommend getting him as a head of youth development, because he's very, very cheap. But yeah, you get the idea. Then you knock that down, then the potential judging down to 19, and you just keep sieving through them until you find the ones that you want. Then, like I said about the head of youth development, keep these 2 of potential and ability because they're still very vital in these roles. Knock them down to about 18 on each place. Remember, this is for bigger clubs, so for your smaller clubs you have to find staff that aren't going to be this level. They'll be a little bit lower level, but still suitable for your club. Common ones to sign here: Viantic, unrealistic. Dave Parnaby is a very common one to go and get. Roger Galvao is a very common one. Roberto Samadin, who's also very good. Fermo Favini, who I mentioned, who I tend to go and get because he's very, very cheap. And Fernando Simone. But you get the idea. I'll quickly show you Director of Football. Director of Football are actually quite a tough... I tend to not have one, so I can't go into too much detail about these guys. but these are the best ones that you can get. So Andriolo, I mean, it's all mental. Remember, there's no coaching involved in this. But if you can get mental attribute, director of footballs with good mental attributes, then you're winning really. So just click this and then just knock these down to 17. So you want basically as bright a green or bright or whatever colour you use as possible. I think it's adaptability can be quite key in this. Determination is obviously very key. So Andriolo Galliano is probably the best one. They got Jorge Macedo, who's not too bad. Pantelio Corvino, again, he's a very good one. Physiotherapy doesn't need to be that good, and tactical knowledge doesn't need to. So actually, I'd probably go for him. And he's available. He's not a club at the beginning. If you're going to get one, get him. Yeah, he's the best one in my opinion. Roberto Policani's no. Paolo, no, not really. Yeah, so definitely go and get Pantelio Corvino. But to explain what they do now, basically you want to go to staff responsibilities. This is where you choose what member of staff does what, especially your director of football and your head of youth development. Now, I tend to do everything, basically, as you can see, but I don't do the training. Obviously, I have an under-21s manager and under-18s manager, which I explained at the beginning, and I have a head of youth development. This is just at the minute in a state where it's just the standard Man United members of staff that are at the beginning of the game. I tend to just get three good members of staff in these positions. But it's very self-explanatory. So you just go into the drop-down menu, go to the staff responsibilities, and it brings up this page. I do all of my staff recruitment, which is here. If we scroll down, it's all here. So hire and fire and the head of youth development, and the scouts and all other staff. Making transfers. This is where you may have a director of football, but you can get other members of your board to go and get players. So I can get Alex Ferguson if I wanted to. He finds players. We can find players for the first team, find players for the future. Handles contracts in the first team and the youth team. Finalises signings for you, and obviously first team and youth players, like I said. Then transfers. If you ever had a player to an unwanted list, quite often that is done if you wanted to. If you do ever use an unwanted list, that is done by whoever you put in these sections here. But it also does for players. So for instance, if there's a player that's you put on the transfer list, for example, whoever is in charge here will go and find them a club, basically. But the deals themselves sometimes aren't suitable. For instance, if I want to sell a player for £12 million and I need £12 million of that money to go and invest in a new player, but yet whoever this is has offered him out for £12 million but accepted a deal for £8 million or £4 million over 48 months, which is very frustrating in this game, and I wish you'd be able to turn that off when you offer when you basically you say that no, you want all the money in full. They'll go and do that. So, but you can set it up where you confirm the deal. You finalise basically the outgoings and ingoings. Then you've got contract renewals, which you can get other members of staff to do. A lot of the time, the director of football is a very good person to do all this stuff. But I tend to just not have one whatsoever, and I sack one if I do have one. The scouting, setting assignments for your scouts. Normally you want your chief scout to do that, but I tend to do it myself. I send my scouts everywhere where I want them to go. For example, I don't see the point in sending a scout to Lebanon or to South Africa or something like that, because it's very rare that you find players, especially good regens or good wonder kids, in those regions. So I tend to just do it myself. This is a very good one. This is always your chief scout. I use this quite a lot, where your scouts can find little hidden gems, especially when regens start to break through. They will your chief scout will make you aware of what they found basically. Then you have training. This is sometimes I let the assistant manager do this, depending on how in depth I go into the game. But the majority of the time I do it all myself. And then obviously the match training for under 21s, under 18s, like I said, is all there. But yeah, I do all the individual training, all the team training myself, and all the match preparation too. Youth. Basically, this is the guy that brings all the youth. So your youth recruitment days, your regen days, things like that. He'll bring these players in. So the better your head of youth development and the better your scouting, so these go hand in hand, the more likely you are, and also your youth recruitment, the more likely you are to find good regen players, or good youth players basically. At the minute obviously United got Brian McClare, but I'll probably get rid of him and get probably Fermi Favini. He's very, very good, who I showed you a second ago. But yeah, they basically go and they also work closely with, they can also do training as well with your under 18s. So working with youngsters is a very key one to have for your head of youth development. But all sorts. Also, if you put players on a development list, like you do an unwanted list, your head of youth development takes control of that and will basically find the best deals for loan to get some of these youth players some first team experience. But again, you confirm the deal at the end. Now, my staff responsibilities, the things I tend to do is I always do the team talks myself, always do the press conferences myself. Depending on, if I'm a lower club and I need money, I'll arrange friendly matches. But if I'm United, I'll always get my assistant to do it because it's just saves so much time. Pre-match instructions, I do tend to put them on. I do tend to get my assistant to do that, but I do adapt them myself every game. Or add them, and just bear in mind that they don't do substitutes, so you have to do them yourself. And friendly matches just drive me crazy. It's just player fitness, so I always get my assistant to take them. Under 21s, obviously you want to get your assistant, your under 21s manager. I get him to do the first team tactics because that means that younger players or reserve players always playing the tactic that you play, and so they get used to it a lot easier and a lot quicker. Same with under 18s. And that's your personal assistant stuff. But yeah, you get the idea. So that's how I use staff. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment section below. This has quite been, especially on the FM based channel, the FM based website where I've interacted with my Man United save. A lot of people have asked about staff. So I was quite keen to get this out and see what you guys think basically. If there's any staff members that you tend to go for, that either I have or haven't mentioned, it's up to you. Please let me know, put it in the comment section below. Obviously staff, they too tend to vary from save to save, but you get the idea of how I do it. But in my actual saves, so I've got a United save going, a Trophy Hunt Challenge save with Chelsea going against Tiki Taka Master, I do mention the staff that I have in. So if you do want to know, then you feel free to go check them playlists out with the full series. But thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. And we'll see you whenever we see you, I guess. Cheers. Thanks a lot.